The first part of our research and planning was to ask questions to a possible audience about our chosen film genre. Some of the things said we took forward and some we did not. We asked first about the colour scheme relating to a social realism film. From John, he said a black and white colour scheme. However, we've not taken this forward because black and white is usually related to horror and sort of sinister approach. And not able to connotate different colours with emotions was something we really wanted to do. Another question we asked was about a certificate for a social realism film. We agreed with him by saying a certificate depended on the content, which allowed us to have flexibility when coming up with a storyline and coming to dialogue as well. In terms of locations, John said that some locations were appropriate for our trailer. However, housing was one he mentioned, and we decided to avoid this and left as a mystery regarding his family life. And some features he said we should include was a diverse age range. So we did this to an extent by including Gary as a music teacher and mentioning his mum and dad as older parenting figures. But also, another thing about setting was the fact that the setting was in a college. Most of the characters would be around the 16 to 18 age range. But we tried to diverse as much as we could with older characters. And he also said to use one lead character, which is something we definitely were going to do, and it allows empathy with the audience.
We created a survey monkey and we all got similar results from our audience. Here is an example. Firstly, we asked for gender and age, and most responses was most female between 17 to 24. Next, we asked for favourite social realism film. We included a few options, but most decided to include their own, such as Whiplash, Submarine and Bullet Boy. Even if one person said they didn't like social realism films, it wasn't going to change our decision. The most common response was blue tones, so we decided to include this in our trailer quite prominently. Quite a lot suggested black and white, but we decided against this because it had connotations to horror rather than social realists. We agreed and listened to our audience and gave our trailer a 15 rating. Most of our audience suggested props and features such as drugs and alcohol. However, we have decided we wanted to include alcohol in a more subtle way, making his mother be the alcoholic, letting this affect our character in a different way than you'd expect. And for example, this would contrast to kidulthood. We went with the second most rated feature of mental health issues, as this would be practical to portray and challenges the stereotype. In terms of location, the most voted for was deprived areas. We challenged this by showing the working class of today being not so materially deprived, which focuses on the value of education and pursuit for happiness. We agreed with the majority of our audience and used teenagers within our trailer. One, because this was more practical and we had access to college students, and the second was it was the best way and the most obvious way of challenging the stereotypes and showing all ethnicities.
As I was watching the trailer, I wrote down some notes, so I'll just read them out. I like the blue tone throughout. I think it helps to understand his anger and his depression. The natural lighting and the fact he's wearing no makeup also helps to show you genre and highlights that it's a social realist. I also like the editing and the voiceover telling his story. I think that's done really well. I think improvements could be made by adding maybe movie reviews in between some shots, or maybe over shots, and maybe just speed up the cuts a tiny bit more. Also, you could change the volume of the piano so you can hear the voiceover over the top by adding like sound effects to just make it a little lower.
From the first criticisms, we were told to improve our trailer by adding movie reviews firstly. We've created briefs in Photoshop and also created film reviews in Photoshop. The other criticism was to speed up the cuts, in which we have done by shortening up scenes and making the fades faster. Finally, we was asked to change the volume of the piano, therefore we muted that down so the voiceover can be heard.
So I made some notes as I was watching your trailer, and what I liked about it was the establishing shot that you used. He's kind of recognising himself, and I like the idea of one main character. I also like how he tells his story and the soundtrack where he's playing the piano. It fits well with the concept and how he created his own music. The improvements I would make are maybe adding some moving text instead of normal fades by using After Effects. Also, you could maybe add your own notes over GarageBand, and that's it.
Right, the next lot of criticisms, we was told to improve our reviews by adding moving text, so therefore we did this on After Effects. We was also told to add our own notes over the GarageBand, so therefore we did this by playing our own keys on a piano, which is part of the GarageBand software.
Right. After watching our finished trailer, what were the strengths you found within it?
Well, I think the trailer is wonderfully constructed with good editing skills. The music goes well with all the scenes. I can tell it's a social realism film. The blue tone shows the demeanour of the character very well, and the voiceover is good, and altogether it completes it.
Thank you.
I can do this.
Right. After watching our finished trailer, please can you comment on the progress since last time you spoke to us?
Yeah, I made some notes of the things I liked. I love the blue tones that recreate the emotion, as like the happy emotions like been drained from him. I loved the voiceover sounds, like the direct commentary between the character and the audience. I can definitely tell what the genre is, social realism. The editing's really smooth, it tells the story really well and it's really well structured. And it's a great use of own compositions, like relaxing goes well with the editing.